Hi everyone, welcome to the channel for new battle report. So this is game number 2 of the French tournament. I'm facing a lot of Tuskers this time. Happy to be facing someone outside of the French community. It was really cool that some team, especially from the east, decided to join the tournament. So really cool to face some new faces. You know already my list, and this was my opponent's list. So he was playing basically very combat oriented Ogre army with big blocks. So we have 15 Tuskers, so that's quite unusual. So I thought it from time to time. It's very unusual list. It's a special challenge to face it. And then he has a big unit of tribesmen with the shaman in it, and it's a wild dog list. So general and BSB are also going to be on Tuskers. So we have the total of 17 Tuskers. Pretty straightforward list. We have 3 pieces of chaff to help that going into combat and getting the charges. And I think it's pretty easy to see how it's supposed to work. It's basically getting the charge, doing a lot of impact on the charge, and protect the Tuskers with magic. We were playing all the target on Counter Trust, and below you have the spell selection for both of us. I was a bit surprised that he didn't pick Chilling Hole, which I think is pretty good against the Blunderbuss, because you can affect both units in once. But maybe he wanted also to play a bit with the frenzy check from Savage Fury. I think was an option. I don't know about Totemic Summon usefulness in this game as well. So I think here some of the choices we can debate about. Matchup analysis. Yeah, I think with the Counter Trust and all the target, basically you are placing your point close to the opponent's deployment zone, meaning we should be both close to one, because I can deploy something close to his or the opposite and get close to at least 1 point. Since we play Counter Trust and he has a pretty low drop amount, I would be quite happy to start, force him to minimize. He has a big charge range and also big footprint. I think that's one of the weaknesses of his list, is basically the footprint. So I need to try to play on that, to not get his whole list in my face in one turn. But basically give me a bit of time, because I know that the key will be to reduce the Tusker unit to 3 models. Once I get to that size, it gets manageable. I can get charged by 3 models and then win combat without too many risk. So I think that's definitely going to be my goal. He has only 4 scoring unit, meaning it could be not so easy for him to play for both points, especially if there is a bit of distance between 2 points. And he has only 12-inch general BSB, which, yeah, I could try to force him to isolate one of the Tusker if you want to play for 2 points, or then it could be hard for him to stretch out the BSB general bubble to play for both. 15 Tuskers. I have some combat answers. I have the Incarnate, I have the Overlord that are my main combat tool, and then magic and shooting have to do the rest. Use the chaff to give me time, create good situation for the shooting and combat, good condition. Overall, I felt the matchup is pretty open. I think depends a bit who can start and how we approach the match. You could also go for high variance type of game, so it will depend a bit of that. Let's move on to the deployment. So my opponent Warhall for side, he gave me pretty quickly the impassable in the middle and placed his point in the middle of the map towards the impassable, which can make sense. I think his also main goal here was to tell me no matter what you do with the point, they are going to be quite close to each other, or they can't be on the opposite side of the map. So this could help him to basically play for both points. I placed mine on the far left, like you can see. What I liked about the train here, the way it's set up, is the fact that I can use the wall to my advantage. Placing one of my units behind the wall would mean him hitting me on 5+, which change a lot the odds. So I felt that's definitely a piece of train where I can take advantage from. And then we have also the hill that is a good piece of train, so I felt quite okay with that. That's why I place my point here. I can be behind the wall and still be within 6. So that could make his frontal deployment a bit harder. So I went for my first drop, which is a line of the fast scav to push him back as much as I can. Meaning I went quite, between the 2 points, a bit more to the left, to make really hard for him to deploy to the left flank. He then placed a dog on the far right behind the hill, but that's a long way to the right, which allows me to put the Troika Anointed in the middle and to push him back also in the middle, further backwards. So I was quite happy with the second drop. After that, I think he placed another dog here, which allows me to place the Incarnate on the far left to also push him back on this corner that was left where he could have placed something. So I felt quite happy about the first drop, and then he placed his dog in the middle. I think his idea was to try to protect the dog and at the same time not give me any information about his potential counter deployment, and he was really trying to win time and see what I was doing and then be able to adapt to my deployment. I went with a heavy left flank deployment. I placed Incarnate, Disciples of Lugar, and then the two blunderbuss all the way to the left. So my idea was to secure a strong left flank and basically make really hard for him to deploy in front of me, because I have a strong left flank. While for the right point I place first chaff, the second chaff will move here in between, and then I have the Anointed that can also try to stall his advance in combination with the Overlord on the bull. So I felt quite happy about that. My opponent decided not to deploy it in front of me. He went a bit more to the right and planned to take a bit more time to come at me. I think here on the left here there was some constraint due to my first drop deployment that pushed him back and would have made really hard for him to deploy all the way to the left. So we went a bit more center right, but quite a lot to the right, as you can see, with 10 Tuskers that I all the way to the right. So we have one unit here, second unit here was a Ginget, then we have the Mage, we have BSB General, and the third unit of Tuskers here on the left. Let's move on to my turn one. So I march fast forward on the left flank, try to create some range for magic. I think he minimized also what the Bastion can do turn one. He moved back a bit in the middle to basically his goal was also to minimize my turn one range damage, which is something that you do quite often when you don't start the game. In the magic phase I only got a Rot Within on those Tuskers here, which could facilitate the combat between Incarnate and Tuskers if it happened at some point, and I kept the Overlord quite forward to zone most of his unit and threaten him. Let's move on to his turn one. He pushes his general a bit forward, pushes those Tusker forward, so just basically to make sure in case I attempt any crazy charge that he could counter charge me easily if he sticks, which is scary enough. He retreat with this dog, magic phase. He got Break the Spirit on my Overlord that had no intention to charge because there is no good charge. And with the shooting of a crossbow, he killed one of the Vassal Cavalry. My turn 2, I hide my chaff, continue to push on the left, keep the Lugar within 6 of this objective. And here I recognize the first mistake. I should have switched the Lugars and the blunderbuss. I think the blunderbuss would have been better suited to block the left flank and to stay close to the token, while the Lugar could have been potentially a bit more active. The Overlord stays here, and here I see him pushing on the right flank, so I start to retreat the Troika Anointed that are going to move around and could be used later on to score the secondary. And as you can see, I have one scoring on the left on this secondary, which is going to be impossible for him to contest due to the distance with the Tuskers. And on the right I placed Vassal within 6. It's also going to be quite hard. He's quite far away from me and pushing as much forward. He could only place those guys in range, but that would mean huge risk of getting charged after that. So quite risky for him to come close to the 6-inch to try to contest. And even if he contests this one, that's not going to be enough. He needs to win the right one, and I think he was too far with those Tuskers. Maybe he could have, I don't know if by pushing 14 that would have been enough. I felt he was too far to get 2 scoring on the right, so I felt quite good about that. In magic phase, I got a breast weapon, do a total of 3 wounds on the Tusker here on the left, which is a good start. Then I failed the Grave Call on 3 dice, and I got Rot Within, same unit I think. Shooting, I did 1 wound to his general with the lucky flintlock shot from the Overlord, which was good news. His turn 2, he started to commit a bit more, so he pushes the right flank, doesn't respect the Overlord. He just felt in case I charge, he can challenge me and then try to get a counter charge. And if I charge here, that's maybe less from a problem, because I would be out and then he can still push me with the rest of his army and he can still challenge and all and try to stick. and it's still a medium charge, so in case I fail it, it could be risky also for me. I start to push with his general in the middle of the map, facing my blunderbuss, my magic. So I was a bit surprised by that, because I felt this is risky for his general. And the BSB stays a bit behind. In the magic phase, I got +1 resilience on the Tusker here on the left. I dispel, break the spirit, and he cast 5 dice, break the spirit on my bastion, which I felt is a huge risk. It's 5 dice, so he could blow up the mage for something that does -1 to shoot. I was not going to charge anything, so I felt, yeah, it's a risk for just a -1 to shoot. And with shooting, he kills 2 Infernal Warrior with the crossbow shots. Let's move on to my turn. I activate, so I'm 1 up. As you can see here, I'm 1 up on the secondary objective. So I start to activate the chaff. I chaff those 2 units to slow them down. I put in place the Overlord to be zoning pretty much everything, and also the positioning, aggressive positioning of the Tusker. I would be able to see him. I bring my chaff in case I need to chaff next turn, and I bring also the Anointed towards here. I kept the Lugar within 6 here. I push a bit to get within shooting range here. So I felt this is good. I just need to do maybe a couple of wounds here. But still, in case he charges, he cannot redirect the charges, my counter charges. So it's going to be too risky for him. He's going basically to do wounds on the Bastion, obviously. But I'm going to be steadfast, and I'm going to be in a position to counter charge, which can be too risky for him. I have even those guys that see here the flank. So he cannot chaff everything with 1 dog and 6 dogs here that are quite far away. In magic phase, I get breast weapon on his general. I did nothing. Then I get a grave call on his general. You can see here the odds. So between grave call and the Bastion, I have a quite good chance of killing his general. I did one mistake, is since I already sacrificed on the breast weapon, I didn't want to sacrifice again on the grave call because I felt he would dispel it, which he didn't do, which surprised me. And obviously with strength 6 the odds are a bit better to do something, so I think I did 1 wound with the grave call and nothing with the Bastion, so only 1 wound total, which wasn't crazy. Should have definitely sacrificed 1 Lugar to get the grave call strength 6. I think would have been worth it to threaten his general to die. And it's 8 reroll, 8 reroll, 8 reroll, so a lot of panic check on 8 reroll that can go bad. So definitely would have been worth it, I think, to buff the grave call and maybe force him to make a more difficult choice. So yeah, not that successful between breast weapon, grave call, bastion shot. Only a single wound is not that great, I feel. He's turn 3, so he elected to make some chaff move and commit a bit more. So his dog chaff the Lugars, his general come chaff my Infernal Warrior, but like I said, I'm in line of sight with my Overlord, which allows him to push hard with the Ginget Tusker here. He moves those Tuskers here a bit in the middle, so a bit of traffic jam. Here charge chaff and he puts the BSB in action. Those guys push as well. They push us well forward, and he prepared the dog here. In the magic phase, he got +1 resilience again on the same Tusker. I felt break the spirit on 4 dice on card number 1 against my 5 dice. I dispel it luckily, and then close combat. He just elected. I think there was like 2 men standing after the combat. Elected to pursue me, so to make another run, and ended up 1 inch behind his general, which gives me some interesting stuff to do. So my turn 4, we are moving into action. So the Overlord takes a charge into his general. I didn't want to charge with the main block here on the left because he has an easy free pass over his tribesman, as you can see, over his tribesman, and could rally here 9 rollable easily. So I felt let's only send the Overlord, and I had an easy overrun onto his tribesman, and I can start to do work here because it's going to be 8 steadfast every turn. I could chaff 1 counter charge here. This guy in the front cannot charge, this guy in the front cannot charge me, and those guys here, they could only fit here with 1 model remaining. So I felt this is perfect. I have at least his turn, my turn next, so at least 2 turns of combat before I can do anything. So in the meantime, I should be able to do a couple of work here, kill the champion, kill the mage maybe. So I felt quite happy about that. Reform those guys to get some shot here. Planning to get more shots here to reduce 1 more model. Like I said, from 3 model or less, I can easily handle them. This allows me to push my incarnate forward and to allow me, yeah, he can charge me if he wants to. I'm full, Just planning to get a reroll 2 wounds here and get some more wounds with the Bastion, and then I should be able to fight him. Here I'm charging the Chaff, planning to reform after that, and here I'm chaffing those Tuskers, which is traffic jam is enough to not allow those guys to charge. And Torque Anointed get ready to potentially threaten his flank here in case we get stuck or something. Chaff again if I need to next turn, so I'm feeling quite happy about the situation here. In the magic phase, I'm going to get a Grave Call on the Tuskers, which is only going to do 3 hits and 2 wounds. It was a strength 6 Grave Call, so I was excited about that, but only 2 wounds. Then the Bastion did another 2 wounds, so we have exactly 3 model with 1 wound remaining. And then close combat, I kill his general easily. I think I took, he was on Death Cheater, so I think I took the Onyx score and I easily killed him. He didn't pass his panic check on 8 here, and he elected not to use the BSB, which is quite interesting, to avoid me getting an easy overrun. So he fled all the way here to the back. Okay, quite interesting. Yeah, I think the closest enemy unit was me, so I think he ended up, yeah, somewhere here, and he's going to rally on 8 rollable, but that's somehow also like cutting his aggression. But that's allowing at the same time, it's like solving the traffic jam issue, and those Tuskers can now charge my Overlord, which is for him an opportunity to take. Unfortunately, he failed this charge, which was a charge on the 8, I think. So it's a failed charge on my Overlord, but in compensation, he's going to rally on 8 rollable. But like I said, now it kills a bit his tempo. He charged here my Chaff. Those guys decided, yeah, they are in danger, so he turned around, move 8, and prepare the dog and the general for later. But we are still 1 up on the second objective because he started to win the run on the right, but I'm still winning the one on the left, which obviously is kind of blocking the advance of my Lugard that could have been pushing otherwise, so it's a bit annoying to have to keep them close to the objective. But I'm like secure to win the secondary. He's not going to climb it back, or it's going to be quite hard for him to climb the mountain of getting this point here, because as long as he gets this one and I get the one on the left, it's going to be kept at 1-0, which is okay for me. What happens is magic phase. He gets I dispel the +1 resistance, and I think he gets to break the spirit on something. I think maybe on the Overlord. That's the odd of I think. Let me think about it. That's the odd of the Torque Anointed charging the Overlord. I wanted to check how likely is it that he kills me, because as you can see I have 2 counter charge set up to go into the unit if I'm able to survive. And like you can see, he should do between like, yeah, maybe 2 wounds on average on the Overlord. Me striking back, most likely using the great weapon because I don't have multi-wound on him. So I should be able to stick the combat and then get the counter charges, but still nice opportunity to get the Overlord down. And this then allows this unit here to be more active and do stuff. So I felt, yeah, it's an interesting charge that he tried to take to try to switch the matchup, but the fact that he failed that charge is kind of killing his opportunities to try to go for the win. At least for the moment. My turn 5, I place the Overlord to chaff this unit of Tuskers. This other unit is also chaffed at the moment. I place those guys close to the marker and also in a position to maybe charge or chaff. Get the Bastion to shoot at them. And my Incarnate attempted what was a very exciting charge, 11 Swift Ride in the back of this unit with an overrun into the Tribesman that had an incendiary marker, so definitely the type of charges, if I would have made it, that have a chance of getting me huge points. Unfortunately for me, I failed that charge on 11 Swift. Magic Phase, I get Mark for Doom, did 2 wounds on the Tuskers, Gravecall did some more, and that was it, I guess. Let's move on to Eastern 5. He elected not to charge my Overlord. He moves those guys, I think, just forward, or did they charge? I think, yeah, they attempted a charge on the Bastion on a 10 Swift Ride. I stand and shoot, did 1 wound. Quite interesting. Again, I have huge counter charges set up, the 2 blocks here ready to charge, so I felt quite interesting to see the outcome of that. But he failed that charge. And then he got +1 resilience somewhere, I think on this unit or the big one in the middle. And he, again, 5 dice break the spirit on the bastion, I guess. And I was able to dispel it with 6 dice, but that's the third time that he either 4 dice on card number 1 or 2 times 5 dice on normal card, which was yeah, quite surprising as a risk that he took, since none of those spells was really game breaking, I felt. So I was surprised by that. My turn 6, I elected to charge the Overlord into those Tuskers because I felt not so much left, and I can potentially get the points of this Ginget unit while I can chaff this unit here. This could force some steadfast check on 8 rollable and then some panic check otherwise, so I felt this is a good way to get the points, and there is no counter charge available into the Overlord with that chaff put in place. Here I just move sideways to force him to double charge me and get only minimized contact with the Tuskers. That shouldn't do much, and nothing crazy, the rest just move back. In the magic phase I got a Mark for Doom, did just 1 wound in the Tusker, and then I got reroll 2 wound. I think I put an Alchemy attribute here and the other one here, in case you wanted to charge those guys, and also Rot Within on them to just make them hit me on 4+, in case you wanted to charge. Close combat. I don't have any stats, but I rolled poorly. I didn't roll poorly. I killed the champion and he passes steadfast. I think that's it. It just absorbed me with the steadfast, and he passed the steadfast on 8 rollable. He then charged my chaff here. He attempted 2 charges, which was a tribesman on a 9 swift into my bastion, and then his hunter on a 7 or 8 swift that failed charge against the bastion. Okay, so he only got the tribesman. I think it's just about getting a steadfast check and nothing else. Magic phase, I binding scroll the +1 strength. He got hereditary on the Tusker against the Overlord, and he also got battle focus on the Tusker against the Overlord. And I was able to dispel with 7 dice against his 5 dice to break the spirit that was cast on the Overlord, I guess. So he really wanted to buff that combat, which is smart because the other combat are not so a risk. And now that's the stat of the Overlord, hitting on 2s, wounding on 4 rollable, making D3 wounds after that. And I managed to do 0 wounds, so that's disappointing. Should have done a bit more. I think that's the odd for him, I would say. I don't remember all the detail, but definitely that was Onyx score here. So I expected to win by a bunch. That's his stat to do something to me. So he did 0 to me, I did 0 to him. I don't remember what is this one. Maybe I rolled something wrong. I think that's for the bull, but I forgot to take away the multi-wound D3. Maybe that's about it. But I think the bull, we don't expect that much from hinting on 3s, wounding on 5 rollable, and then he saved on 5. So maybe a wound. But yeah, I expected like on average should be like 4 wounds total to his 0. That's the stat with 2 model remaining. So it's slightly more with 3 model remaining. And I think he did nothing to me, so I just lost by 1 and I passed the 9 rollable. But that was obviously disappointing. I had big hopes for this combat and the Overlord fluff, and here I passed the steadfast check, and that's it. And he kills the Torque Anointed with his Tusker unit. It ended up being a tie on point because he took all the chaff I gave him, and I took his general and the saber-tooth tiger, and that's about it. And then I took the secondary objective to make it a 13-7. Post-game analysis, so happy to get the first drop and the turn 1 on counter trust. I took early board advantage, board control, secure the left flank and get the decisive first secondary objective point, and after that it was for him a mountain to climb or a lot of risk to take to try to basically crush my army and move back from a position that was quite far away from my secondary objective. I should have switched the Lugars and the Blunderbuss. I think that would have been way better to allow the Lugar to be in a zone where they could have more action and they could have mattered in this type of combat. Also the positioning that his general took would have been impossible against the Lugars. So I felt here a small mistake. Turn 3 Ogre Khan, not sure the aggression of the general was worth it. Basically he gave away 600 points of the general, the leadership 9 for nothing crazy. So I felt not sure it was really worth it to send the general forward like that. I would have, if I were him, more trying to open the game with the chaff and then get the Tusker charge and after that like support with general and BSB rather than put forward the general and just risk him for nothing crazy. Turn 5 Infernal Dwarves opening with no downside for the Incarnate. Yeah, I had a free charge, 11 Swift. Like I said, if I make it, I think it's huge. It's the Tusker that get eaten first, and then the flank into his Tribesman would have been also a huge problem for him. So no downside for me, but it was a long charge obviously. Turn 4 Ogre Khan would have been a dicey combat for the Overlord. Not the charge I wanted to take, but I knew the risk, and I had no way really to avoid that. So that's how it was. I had good enough counter charge, worth mentioning, 2 good counter charge to then kill the Tuskers back, but that would have started an exchange of resources with a potential spike potential for him. If he spikes and one-shot the Overlord, then I'm in huge trouble because it's an overrun onto the Infernal Warrior that gets then heavily beaten by so many Tuskers. Turn 5 Tusker charge onto the Bastion was not so scary for me. I was less nervous than the charge against the Overlord because basically he had no way to redirect the counter charges that I had, and he would do some damage to the Bastion but not kill the whole unit. I would be steadfast and get the counter charge. So I think nothing too risky for me. And the turn 6 Ogre Khan, yeah, it was a swingy fight for the Onyx core. Didn't really shine, but that was for me the potential to get 2 more points and move to 15. And I felt the tablet was quite interesting in this match, being able to cast 3 dice with a good, good probability. Even like the Grave Call moves from 65% to 80% on 3 dice. So still it matters quite a lot. It's an expensive item, but quite interesting. So guys, that's all for this battle report. We ended up capping the team. So we won the 60 to 40 this round 2, so it's a second cap, so we still stay on table number 1, and stay tuned for the game number 3 of this tournament. Bye bye.